All right, welcome everyone. My name is Greg Leastman, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today for our online information session with Lewis and Clark Law School. We'll be sharing details on our distant learning program, our LLM, in environmental, natural resources, and energy law. Classes are starting soon on January 13th, and we're currently accepting applications, and we're going to talk a lot more about the application process in just a bit. First, we're going to be talking about this program. And so joining us to discuss the specifics of the environmental law LLM are Lucy Brem, Associate Director of the program, Janice Weiss, Associate Dean and Director of the program, and also Dan Rolfe, Professor of Law. Before we begin the presentation, there are a couple things I'd like for you to know. We are going to be doing a question and answer period at the end, so feel free to use the chat box on the right, and that way you can type in any questions you have during the event, and we will answer those at the end. Also, this session is being recorded, and you'll receive a link to the archive via email in just a few days. And I definitely encourage you to share that with anybody that maybe couldn't make the event today or you think might be interested in this program. So feel free to share this recording. So enough for me. I want to turn it over to the main events so you can learn more about this fantastic program. So I'd like to turn it over to Lucy, Janice, and Dan. Take it away.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Hi, everyone. I'm Janice Weiss, and it's our great delight to be here to talk about our online LLM program. We're just completing our first semester, and it has been wonderful, and we're very excited that you're interested in possibly joining our program. Just a little bit about our program design and structure, so you can get a sense of what we're talking about here. Like many online degree programs, there's a lot of ability to do self-pacing. You'll be watching videos as part of the class, participating in discussions, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. But the idea is this is specifically designed to meet the needs of distance education students. Students who, for whatever reason, can't pack up and move and join us here in Portland, have jobs, kids, spouses, other obligations that allow you to really have some flexibility in getting an LLM in this very specific and important area. In addition to the course content that we'll talk about more in a bit, you'll have access to all kinds of great technical support. We work with experts in online course designing, so we have plenty of interactive learning elements. You'll be able to connect with our professors through virtual office hours. Obviously, in addition to that, you can email them and speak with them on the phone as needed. Just a quick overview of the mechanics of the degree. The degree requires 26 credit hours of coursework for US students and 28 for international students. We have a specially designed introduction course for our international students to prepare them for US law study. And we have a variety of courses to choose from. What we've done is sort of curated a list of courses we think are key to a professional wanting to go into this field of law or to enhance their knowledge. And the courses are at the bottom of your screen there on the PowerPoint, but they include the very important core courses, administrative law and environmental law. We also have a wonderful emerging topics course that Professor Rolfe will talk about in a bit. And then you can see the other courses there. They include a nice variety of both natural resources courses, environmental or pollution courses, and then energy courses, along with some international offerings. So a nice panoply of courses there. I also want to note that we allow students at any semester to sign up for what we call an individual research project. This is doing a research paper on a topic of your choice. It's wonderful if you want to take a deep dive into a particular topic that interests you, or if there's a subject that you want to explore that may not be directly addressed by one of the classes. It's also a nice way to break up the program if you work well on your own and enjoy the research and writing process. So that's just a bit about the structure and design. And we'll talk now a bit more about one of our classes in particular, our Emerging Topics class. It's required for all LLMs, and so we thought it would be fun to give you a flavor of that course as a sample. So I'm going to turn it over to Professor Rolfe.
Hi, everyone. Good to be with you today. I've been at Lewis and Clark almost since, well, I think since the beginning of our LLM program over 30 years ago. And so I have pretty much a complete history with our LLM program, and I'm happy to be involved in this phase of it where we're able to bring our online, our program with online resources to a lot more people. For a number of years, I've taught a course that's exclusively offered to LLM students. And so it's kind of a home base for our LLM students. And the current iteration of that class online, I call Emerging Topics. And I really enjoy this class, and I think its participants this semester have been enjoying it because it gives us an opportunity to kind of step back from a very specific context. So, for example, people taking environmental law or administrative law, those basic classes, learn about everything in those particular areas and really just in those areas only. And in the Emerging Topics class, it gives us a couple of more flexible opportunities. One is to look across essentially the entire environmental and energy and natural resources fields. We choose different topics in all of those areas to focus on in each module. And then, so that's kind of a broad topical class in that sense. And then the emerging part of the Emerging Topics theme for the class is that it allows us to look at up-to-the-minute developments in important areas of environmental, energy, and natural resources law. So, for example, earlier this semester, we looked at some new regulations that implement the Endangered Species Act in the United States. And those regulations made major changes to the statute and the way it will be implemented and interpreted. And we were able to have a class discussing those issues just a couple of weeks after those regulations took effect. And so with the flexibility of this class, and we do it on kind of a real-time basis, I don't really record any of the lectures very far in advance. Oftentimes I record them just a day or two or three before the module is available to everyone. So it allows us to take a very contemporary look at kind of up-to-the-minute developments in these fields. So it's kind of a fun way to look at what's happening almost in real time. The structure of the class, the lectures and discussions, of course, are available online, and I try to avoid it just being me lecturing, and especially just kind of lecturing in a static way. So this semester, for example, I've tried to get many of my colleagues on the faculty involved in our discussions. So a good example of that is a new colleague of mine, Professor Lisa Benjamin, who we just added to the faculty this year, and we're delighted to have her with us. Lisa has been an active participant in international discussions about climate change. And so Lisa has worked on the Framework Convention on Climate Change, as well as the Montreal Protocol and discussions about the Paris Agreement. And in those contexts, she's actually represented small island states in those international discussions. And so not only is she an expert on international aspects of climate change, but she's actually been a participant at the negotiations where countries have hammered out these agreements and are implementing these agreements. So we looked at, for one of our modules, we looked at the UN summit on climate change that took place earlier this fall in New York. So the week afterward, we had a module where we discussed that summit. And my guest for our discussion was my colleague, Professor Benjamin, and she was able to give us a lot of insight into the summit based on her experience in international climate negotiations. So I try to get participants not only involved in up-to-the-minute issues, but also to have exposure to the rest of our faculty and their expertise, which often dovetails exactly with those the contemporaneous issues that we're talking about. As far as our students go in the class this semester, I think I'll talk about that just a little bit. We've got 12 students, or I have 12 students in my emerging topics this semester. They come from a wide variety of states here in the United States, all the way from Hawaii to the East Coast on Virginia. We have students from 2 different countries, so we have an international cohort as well. Broad array of backgrounds ranging from nonprofit to government, military, even the private sector. A lot of the students are working full-time while they do the programs, and so they're able to fit in their academic work around those personal obligations. So I've enjoyed my experience so far, and I look forward to working with some of you next semester.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lucy Brem, and I'm the Associate Director of the Environmental Law Program. I also teach the Introduction to U.S. Environmental Law and Legal Studies course for the international students. I've had the opportunity to talk with some of you via email already, and it's wonderful to have a chance to speak to you directly this morning. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our what careers might be available to you as a graduate and our alumni. We have a fantastic and engaged alumni base around the United States and really around the world. There's a sampling of some of them listed on this slide and what people are doing, and I would be happy if you sent me an email to send you a link to more information about what our students are doing. I think you'll find that our classes and our program offers a really amazing opportunity to be prepared to practice, teach, engage in policy making in the environmental, natural resources, and energy law field. And you can see from what our alum are doing that that's certainly where they're focused. Our Career Services Office offers alumni, and while you're here as a student as well, assistance with career planning, job search, reviewing resumes, reviewing cover letters. Janice and I are also available for that and spend time always with LLM students reviewing documents, talking about how to focus their career, how to look for a job, etc. And we also are happy to set up all kinds of ways to support you, from mock interviews, which we always recommend that you do, especially if you're going to do a phone interview, finding contacts for you, ways to network, and helping you research your career options. So I will now turn it over to Janice, but again, if you have any questions about our alumni or about what kinds of careers our students are entering, please contact me.
Hello again. I'm going to talk now a little bit about more specifically, our law school, Lewis and Clark, and, some factors to take into account when making a decision. And we know making an LLM decision is very important. It's on top of your law degree. It's an extra degree. And, making sure that it's going to be useful to you is obviously critical in your decision making. Some of you may know a lot about Lewis and Clark. Some of you may not know much. So just a few things to highlight. Our environmental law program is ranked #1 in the country. That's a title that we're very proud of. We are also one of the, if not the original environmental law program in the country. We've been doing environmental law since environmental law itself started here in the United States. So we began in the late 60s, really launched our program in the 70s, launched our LLM program in the 80s. So we've been doing environmental law for quite a long time. And we really enjoy that area of law. Some other things to factor into your consideration. We do offer tuition scholarships. We know degrees can be expensive. And so we listen to each of our applicants and candidates. If you talk to us about some needs you might have for tuition reduction, we try to be as flexible as possible to make this degree available. We also love the fact, and we've really enjoyed seeing this in play this semester, the interaction among the students and the networking with the students is really great. Obviously, everybody is scattered around the country and around the world, but there's opportunities to interact and network with the students. And we're always looking for ways to even increase those opportunities. One of the things that we've done this year is, in addition to having chances to network with your fellow LLMs who are doing the program, the emerging topics class that Professor Rolfe mentioned also includes our in-person LLMs. And so that's the one class where all of the LLMs, both in person and online, get to connect. We also make available podcasts and recordings of interesting lectures and conferences that are going here on campus, so that you at least get exposure to some of those events that are happening here on campus. And then, of course, we've mentioned this before, but it's worth reiterating. The beauty of a degree like this is you can get the LLM without relocating, changing your job situation, changing any of your personal or family obligations. And just a quick overview of careers. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But it's always a good question to ask. What does this degree prepare me for? What are my opportunities? And Lucy mentioned some of our wonderful alums. And the students who graduate with this degree really go into any kind of environmental work you can think of. We haven't seen any limits on the type of work. So our LLM alums work for government agencies at all levels, city attorneys' offices, state attorney general's offices, federal agencies, military. They go into the private sector, both small, medium, and large law firms with robust environmental practices, or even in-house counsel, being the in-house team that's advising a particular client on environmental issues. And then, of course, we have students who do all kinds of interesting work in the NGO, nonprofit, and policy work area. And both Lucy and I and our faculty and our career services folks, we'd really work with you individually to figure out what are your interests, where would you like to see yourself working, in what kind of sector, and we can help you design your courses, That way, perhaps an independent study could help direct some of that interest. So really our students go everywhere you can think of for their environmental law work. I'll now turn it back over to Lucy to talk a little bit more about our faculty. Who teaches these classes is the question.
I think our faculty are the core strength and the bedrock of our environmental law program. The depth of experience and breadth of experience is really amazing. I encourage all of you at some point to go online and read their bios. Most of the professors that teach online are longtime professors at Lewis and Clark. We do have a few adjunct professors, but those two people also have taught here for years and are also active practitioners or have been in the past in their field. For example, Karen Russell, who teaches water law, practiced water law for a long time. Our longtime faculty also are very active outside of the classroom as well. They're leading scholars in environmental, natural resources, and energy law, engaged in publishing articles, writing Friends of the Court briefs. Chris Wold, who teaches international law courses, is very active in our international environmental law program and travels around the world representing clients who have active live international environmental law issues. And Melissa Powers, who teaches our energy law, electricity regulation course, is very active in the community working on policy issues through the Green Energy Institute here at Lewis and Clark, which she started. Professor Rolfe has been very active as well, was a longtime active practitioner with our Earthrise Law Center doing domestic U.S. environmental litigation. Professor Blum writes a lot about a lot of wonderful issues, everything from salmon and dams to writing op-ed articles regarding the climate change litigation that's so active in both the Oregon state courts and at the federal level. Professor Johnston, who teaches environmental law, was also an active practitioner for many, many years with our Earthrise Law Center and is just an amazing professor who will really show you an overview of environmental law, and yet you'll learn a lot. You'll go quite in depth as well with the main federal environmental law statutes. So you will be in good hands in all of your classes, well-experienced hands, and it's really quite an opportunity to be able to access the quality of these professors and teachers via distance learning.
I'm going to talk now just a bit about the application mechanics. And first I'll talk about who should apply, and then we'll talk a little bit about the application requirements. Excuse me. So we get this question a lot: who should apply, and at what stage in my career ought I to apply? And really, we encourage applicants at all stages of their careers. We get applicants who are fresh out of their law school program, who want to either continue learning about environmental law, if they did that in their law school experience, or perhaps students who went to a law school that didn't have a lot of environmental law courses, and they're looking to really enhance that curriculum piece. But in addition to that, we have lots of applicants who have been out practicing law or doing other related areas, policy work, and either want to retool, they're doing another kind of law and they are really feeling a calling to do environmental law instead, or who may be doing some environmental work and really want to gain some knowledge to really help them enhance their professional development. So it really is a program that's available anywhere from, right after you graduate from law school all the way through your career. We have folks at all stages who have taken the LLM and are doing the LLM. And so it's a nice broad way to do the program. Just a few mechanics about the distance learning LLM applicant requirements. And there's a lot more information on our website, of course, and Greg can provide you more information as well. But just a few highlights of what we look for in our applications. You need to have your law degree already, whether that's through a United States program or an international law school. But you're having your law degree first. This is then a post, law degree program. We're looking for someone with an excellent academic record and strong legal research and writing skills. We also look for, if you graduated from law school a while ago, what have you been doing since then? Your work experience would be very relevant to us if you've been out of law school for a while. Obviously, we're looking for folks who are interested in environmental and natural resources or energy law. And you don't have to be a member of a bar. We do get that question quite a bit. You can be before you've taken a bar. If you are a member of a bar, that's great, but it's not required. We do want to mention that for U.S. students, a JD from an ABA accredited law school is highly preferred. We wouldn't rule out necessarily an applicant who went to a non-ABA accredited school, so talk to us if you fall into that category, but we do mention that ABA accredited law school for your JD is often preferred. So those are the mechanics of the application, just the sort of overview. And Lucy's going to talk about next steps if you are indeed interested in these sort of final details about what we need in your application.
Well, next steps include reaching out to us or to Greg with any questions you might have. And when you're ready to apply, you would submit your application online. For international students, we do look for English proficiency, and you can demonstrate that to us with either a TOEFL score, an IELTS score. We have a minimum of score of 100 on the TOEFL. If you're close to that, that's fine. Let us know. We want to see, as Janice mentioned, what you're interested in and some details about your background. So we do ask for a personal statement and a current resume, which helps. It's just a way for us to easily see what you've been doing over the last few years, either throughout law school or before. Please submit a transcript for your JD or your LLB. It can be unofficial. When you do matriculate, when you do start the program, we would then ask for, obviously, an official copy to be sent directly to our registrar. But for admissions purposes, we'll accept a copy or an unofficial transcript. Then submit, along with all of that, 1 to 3 letters of recommendation. It's helpful if these are from people who know you well. It's good to have one from a professor if you can. If you've been out of law school for a long time, please submit something from someone you've worked with. What we are looking for is someone who can talk about your analytical abilities, your writing ability, or something about you as a person or a professional. Ask any questions you may have of us. We're here to help. We don't mind at all if you reach out to us directly. And I would also say that if there's anything else that you want to put into the application that you think is important, feel free to include that as well. But the main things, obviously, that we're looking at is how did you do in your prior educational experience? What have you been doing since you graduated, or if you just graduated, what you were doing before? We want to see a strong interest in environmental law. Obviously, this program is very focused on environmental law. It is not a general LLM degree. So we are looking to make sure that this is a good fit for you and that you are a good fit for the courses that we're offering. And at this point, I think we're going to open it up for questions.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much, Janice, Lucy, and Dan. It was a pleasure having you walk us through the program. And we do have just a couple questions that we'll cover here. And I figured this one would probably come up. And that, of course, is the tuition. What is the tuition of the program, and do you have scholarships was just asked. So for U.S. students, the tuition is a grand total of $38,870 for the program. For international students, because there is one additional class, the tuition is $41,860. And yes, there are scholarships available. And the process for applying for a scholarship is you will write a letter when you apply to the program, basically stating your need for a scholarship. And, the admissions committee will take a look at that, and, we'll let you know if you do qualify for a scholarship. Is there anything, Janice or Lucy, you'd like to add to that?
No, I think that's a great overview, Greg. I would just say, I would emphasize that definitely feel free to reach out to us on the scholarship question. We do try to be as flexible as possible. We want this degree to be accessible to folks around the world. And so definitely feel free to reach out. As Greg says, you can include a statement with your application. And we do try to be as flexible as possible.
I'd just add one thing that might be helpful, and that is that for this degree, the tuition is charged per credit. So you would pay each semester depending on how many credits you're taking. And I think that's helpful sometimes because you can then pace yourself according to perhaps what you can afford, or obviously if you're working, but it's not a flat fee. So you only pay for the actual credits that you're taking that semester.
Yeah, and it's a great point. And I'll add, most students will take, probably around 2 classes per semester. But yeah, if it works better for you to do one, we can certainly work with you on that and know how busy you all are. So that's a great point. And I know we're kind of up against the clock here. I'll throw in one more question here. And I know you did talk about some of the great jobs that can be available for graduates of this program. There was a question that was up about career services and if there is assistance with jobs.
Yes, great question. At Lewis and Clark, we have a really robust career planning process for all of our students, including the online LLMs. We wouldn't want you to feel left out of that process in any way because you're not on campus. In our career services office, we have several different staff members who specialize in different areas so they can really dig deep on the types of careers available. For example, we have someone who specializes almost exclusively in public interest jobs. And then we have another staff person who focuses on everything else that's available. And they are wonderful at reviewing cover letters, resumes, and really reviewing your job search strategy with you. In addition, Lucy and I tag team with the career services folks, and we really help develop an individual strategy for each LLM based on your past experience, where you went to law school, what your experiences have been. It will vary obviously for each student, but Lucy and I also review resumes, cover letters, that kind of thing. The way we've handled it with online students is we're happy to jump on a Skype call with anyone who wants to go over their career questions. We're happy to do mock interviews to prep you for an important interview, and we can do that via Skype. We're always available for phone and email consultations as well. So all of the services really that you get here in person, we make available to our online students.
All right, that's great. Well, we are just about out of time, but I do want to thank everybody for joining us. It was a pleasure having you with us, and just wanted to remind you that you will be receiving an archive of this presentation in a couple days, so be on the lookout for that in your email. Also wanted to let you know, if you do have questions, you can go there to the website you see on the screen, to the email, and feel free to call me directly as well, and I can talk you through the admissions process or answer any questions you have at 503 867-8058. And just a quick reminder, too, that, again, we're currently accepting applications for our spring semester. We would like to see those in by about December 15th. And we would love to see your application. We'd love to help you get started in the program. And once again, want to thank Janice and Lucy and Dan for their insights. And thank you again for joining us. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Dan. Bye, everybody.